You are Mecha Chaotic. I am Atomic Sushi. Nice to meet you. I don't think we've spoke before, but I've heard a lot of good things about you. Edward Nigma was telling me about how you do live streams where you draw things on the spot. Can you tell me a little bit about that, your background, and who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Ethan Esperton. I've been an illustrator for about 10 years, but pretty much for my whole life, like I've been pretty obsessed with collaboration and the way that ideas are improved by kind of uh, crowdsourcing, I guess, but like only when they're like focused through a lens of some kind. And Mecha Chaotic is kind of a way to do that, and I happen to be that lens just because I'm the artist, as well as the head of the project. And the way that we do that specifically, well, one of the many ways that we do that is when I'm to make one of our NFTs that is already out on our OpenSea currently. I do them on a live stream, and it's an interactive process. So while people are watching me, they gain points. Then they can use those points to redeem parts off of a menu. And when they redeem those parts, I have to incorporate that part into the drawing immediately. So I can't plan anything out. The viewers don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going, and we all kind of find out together. And in kind of this, it's almost like we're seeing together like this thing that we're kind of like channeling almost. And this kind of came about from an exercise that I was doing to combat a little bit of art anxiety that I was having a few years ago. And it basically caused me to have an epiphany. And the way that came about was a friend of mine just asked me, what would you draw if you didn't know what the outcome would be? And the next day I just picked up a marker and I drew something that was, part mechanical, part biological. And it just kind of flowed out. And then I realized that I could get other people involved in that process. And that's kind of the stream that I just talked about is kind of where it evolved to over the years.
It's very neat. So as you're doing the stream, your viewers are earning these points, and then the more streams they watch, the more points they accumulate. They buy a piece of your painting or drawing with these points, and then you immediately have to incorporate that. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that it's that they're buying a piece, definitely. What though technically, like I don't want to mislead anybody. Like at what we were doing back during phase one was we would do the stream on Monday, and then we would release that as an NFT on Friday. And so intellectually, I guess like as there's some time investment, right, that the people already have in it, and investment in that they help design it. But they still have to buy into the addition
Right.
that it was.
They're not purchasing the painting or the drawing. They're just purchasing the ability to choose what goes on it.
Exactly. Yep.
That's very unique. That's not something I've heard of before at all. And I was actually taking a look at your website earlier, and I thought that was very unique as well. I was reading about the symbols of power and the rituals to create the NFT, and that's just something I had to sit there and think about it for a little while because I've never seen anything like that before. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how that process works?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I wanted when I had the idea to do a generative project, I really wanted to also make that collaborative because, like I said, it's a very big part of my life and my whole like psychology. And so the way that we devise the system, what you're going to do is you're going to when you go to Mint Bedlam, which is our generative project that's coming out with within the next couple weeks, is you will mint instead of a revealing like a placeholder image. on a mint, on a token, you're going to get what's called a fragment token. Within that fragment token are symbols of power. And these symbols of power are the things that you're going to be able to use to influence your final art in the end. But when you mint the fragment token, they're just properties on your token. When you then, you're going to take that token after some amount of time. So we're going to leave some time for people to trade because we have 5 different types of symbols of power. We have Apex, which is more like Draconic-like. We have Beast, which is more feral, like werewolf kind of creatures, like more furry creatures. We have Chaos, which is just things that are just kind of unnatural looking. Giant eyes, weird mouths, that kind of stuff. Then we have Corrupted, which is more of a demonic, undead kind of a vibe. And then we have Dominance, which is more machine. So let's say that you really wanted to push your finished art, your final art, towards dominance. You could go in that trade time to go and find all of the fragment tokens that have more dominance symbols of power on them. And you could buy them, or maybe you could reach out to them and trade with them with your NFT, because maybe it has what they want on yours. And so after that point, there will be a time where we tell everybody, all right, go onto the website, and it'll log all the fragment tokens that you have when you connect your wallet, and it'll put all of the symbols of power that are properties on your fragment tokens into an inventory. Then from that inventory, you will, next to the inventory, there will be a summoning circle, and it'll have 5 slots that you can put symbols of power per mint that you have purchased, so per fragment token that you own. And you can take any of those symbols of power and you can arrange them however you want on this summoning circle. So if you really like dominance, like in the previous example, and you happen to have 5 symbols of power of dominance, you could put all 5 of them into the summoning circle, and it'll very heavily influence your final art. Or Apex or whatever you wanted, or you could do a mix if you felt like that you wanted a specific mix, or even if you wanted one of each because you thought that would be a really cool combination, then you could do that. And for each mint, you would just have to, you lock it in, and it'll do a very small transaction that will update your fragment token with that information. And then you'll do that for each one. There's also a randomize option because we understand that some people have that option paralysis where maybe you're just not quite sure, so you just hit randomize a couple times and it'll go through. And so once you've locked in all of your summoning circles, there will be your fragment tokens will be updated with a placeholder image. And then there's going to be a couple days where we generate all that artwork with your symbols of power that you have entered into your fragment token that has turned into your placeholder image token. And after a certain amount of time, they'll reveal as your final image, and it'll be greatly influenced by your choices that you made on your summoning circle.
Interesting. And so are the symbols of power NFTs themselves?
They're just properties on the fragment token. We did it this way to cut down on transaction fees because otherwise it would have been insane.
And so how does a fragment token get generated?
The fragment tokens are generated like in a normal mint. You would go and you would mint, and then you would immediately have a placeholder image on an NFT in a generative project, right? Like if it's a visual generative project. But for ours, what you're minting is actually the fragment token, which will then later transform into your final image.
And so you need how many of them to get an abomination?
So you only need one. You only need one. So on each fragment token for the base version, so just if you just whitelist, you'll have 6 symbols of power per fragment token that you mint.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And then you need 5. So we gave you the option so you can drop at least one if you only got 1 mint.
So how were you inspired to come up with this idea? It's very original.
Well, thank you. So I have a big thing about collaboration, and I also wanted. I don't know. I always like building things, and I wanted. Whenever I'm doing anything with Mecha Chaotic, I'm always thinking like, what would I want out of a project? What would I think as a consumer? What do I think is cool? And obviously, I think collaboration is cool. I think building stuff is cool. So why not do that for a generative project, right? And like you can even see it in the way that the art is created, where we don't have a base creature. We have uh, like all these different traits that create a full creature, but there's no ape, there's no dog, there's no cat. It's just an assemblance of these traits.
It's an abomination.
Exactly. Yeah. And my art style just really lent itself to that. And so we did a lot of thinking, a lot of workshopping. We thought about cross chain stuff. We thought about working on Polygon, but we weren't really that keen on that. When we first started developing this idea, it crossed my mind to use Solana, but at that time when we were first thinking about it, there was a lot of that. There was that controversy that had just happened where they had to like shut down the whole thing, the whole network, and so we just tried to like distill it down to like the coolest, the cleanest, the least transactions possible, and still have that collaborative aspect. And like I I wouldn't have wanted to do a generative project if it didn't have as much collaborative um, essence as possible. Though I was very conscious about like if you could control everything, like let's say that you had a um, instead of an inventory of symbols of power, you just had an inventory of parts that you could put together however you wanted. I feel like that kind of takes some of the excitement away. And like I remember being a kid and like getting magic cards or like Pokemon cards or whatever, and like opening that booster pack, and like that's like the most exciting part, right? So like I wanted to have a little bit of that in there, but also give you some influence over what you were going to get. And also another part that influenced my ideas for this generative project was um, the idea of, despite having all this craziness happening, like having a cohesive looking image that you wouldn't even necessarily be able to tell was a generated piece. So that was definitely like a huge goal for me and my co-artist Walter Osley. I think that answered. I think that
Yeah,
over answered
yeah.
your question.
That's okay. Over answer all you need to. These guys do look pretty gnarly. I'm a little frightened, honestly. Um, what do you call the jaws of life that they have there? It's
I assume you're looking at that bottom jaw that like splits in half.
yeah, the one that's vertical rather than or well, I guess it's horizontal rather than vertical.
The working title for that one is the zipper mouth. Uh, I I just I don't know. I just wanted some crazy looking things to put in there, and like we haven't even shown you like we so far we've only shown you maybe 10% of the craziness that's gonna be these things, and like I really went pretty wild on some of these, and I can't wait to show those off. But obviously, all in due time.
Okay, and so on the shards that we were talking about just a minute ago, just to roll back
Mhm.
just a second, you said that if you put all of one type of shard, then that element of shard rather is going to be heavily influenced in the piece. Is that right?
Correct. Yep. So yeah, the more symbols of power that you put into the summoning circle, the more influenced it'll be towards uh, that power, that theme.
Very cool.
And I did want to point out that like not only are the traits affected, but also the coloration of your whole piece will be affected by that.
Very
So
cool.
like each power has its own color scheme.
And so I saw that your team on the website, you guys have little bios. That's new. Most of the time, it's just like a picture and this is this guy on our team. You don't really know what they do, but I feel like I've
Right.
kind of gotten to know your team a little bit. For instance, who was it? Mike. Uh, I
Hmm.
I imagined Mike in my head because I know people that play StarCraft competitively and go to Magic the Gathering tournaments, and I was like, oh, okay, Mike's my people. We can get along. Um, so
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. Um,
Thanks.
so I wanted to ask you guys about the Thunderdome because I've heard of the Thunderdome, but I haven't spent much time in your Discord myself. So tell me a little bit about that community and what you guys do there.
So, we wanted to have a whitelist. We want to whitelist the entirety of Bedlam, and we always felt that just a lottery is kind of lame, or just like random giveaway bot was kind of lame. So, I came across this bot that just basically you put your name in by reacting to the bot, and then it randomly generates these fights that happen throughout these different rounds, and slowly people are killed off until eventually you have the last one. And we just use that to, the final person gets a whitelist spot. Also, we added in that, like, if mods join in that and you take them out, you also get a whitelist. So it makes it a much more interactive process. It becomes a narrative process a little bit, and also, like, it makes people pay attention to like what's going on, because you have to see, like, oh, I killed a mod. All right, I gotta ping the mod and tell them that I got him, and I now get a whitelist. And it just generates like a lot of excitement that we really like, and it's very on brand for us, since everything that we do is so collaborative.
Do you all get in VC together and like talk crap to each other while the fights are going on?
Yeah, sometimes we definitely do. Other times, you know, it's it can be kind of difficult to get people, because sometimes it hits weird times where, like, people aren't available. But whenever possible, yeah, we want to get into voice chats and talk to people. Like, one of the reasons that we had our bios on our website is because we when I was doing my live streams, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this is crazy, like, I never get to talk to the artist. I don't even know the artist's name that's on the projects that I'm working on. And we, like, being transparent is just kind of like really natural to me personally. Like, I always say that, like, I'm too honest of a person, like, to my detriment. And I really felt like that it allowed me to connect with our community like a lot stronger. And so I wanted to make sure that we had that at least a little bit for, like, the rest of the team, especially my two co-founders, DevTech and Bonkaruni, um, who I've known for years. And uh, we just wanted to make sure that we value trust, and we value um, integrity. So, like, we want to make sure that people know who we are, and all that good stuff.
Well, that's true. It can definitely bite you in the butt being honest, but from my experience, it always works out in the end. So that's good to hear.
That's my philosophy. It too. Yeah.
I did get a message on the side just a moment ago. Moose wanted to know, since he can't be here to speak, he wanted me to ask you if he was going to get banned because he continues to win in the Thunderdome, even though he's been whitelisted.
Um, yes. Moose specifically, nobody else has to worry about that. But Moose specifically, we're thinking about revoking his whitelist privileges and booting him out, just to give other people a chance.
That's a good idea. I can support that, and I think you should definitely do it. Um, so I hear that there is a game in development. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So the the game that we're developing. So when we released Mecha Chaotic Phase One, we got a lot of feedback that they were like, why are you doing like one of ones and additions, and why are edition sizes so weird? Like, it doesn't really, like, why are you doing this? And all we could really say is, like, it factors into something that we have planned in the future. And we couldn't really say why. and I can't really say exactly why right now, but I can tell you that it has a lot to do with the game that we're developing. And basically, you're going to be able to affect the game with your NFTs and also affect your NFTs with the game. We haven't said a lot about that. I think hopefully we've said this before, but I'm going to say it now, and I can get yelled at later. You're going to basically be able to track your wins and losses based on. Okay, I skipped a whole thing here. Backpedal a second. So it's going to be an auto battler type situation where you build out a team using the creatures that are shown in phase one, and though it's not required to have the NFT to participate, but owning the NFT, you'll be able to track your wins and losses with that NFT, and there will be like a leveling system and stuff like that involved. And I don't think that we've said anything more than that, and I think I might have even said a little bit more than we have said already. But
That's good.
I'm really excited about it.
I like to hear the secrets. That's what I do this for.
Right.
Um,
and one more thing about the game is just when the game comes out, the game is going to be fairly straightforward and simple because it's only the first step of the game, and we want to roll the entirety of Mecha Chaotic. We want to roll out very slowly and incrementally so that the community can see that we're doing something, but also interact with it, play around with it, have input on it, and also get to experience the same thing that we are, right? Like have fun and see all these new things and be a part of making stuff that we think is cool.
I like it. So I hear that you guys have been doing some raids in other Discord servers. How's that going? Do you have any partnerships you've been forming?
Yeah, those raids are like super fun. They're really fun for me. It's for anyone who doesn't know, raids are where we go from Mecha Chaotic. I round up some people, and then we shift over to a voice channel in another server. And when we're over there, I live stream a derivative of that collection, and we get to know about that project. It's kind of more fun the less that I know about the project, honestly, because then I basically get to do what you're doing right now, except I'm also drawing and adding to that community. And it's led to a lot of new friends were made, a lot of new connections. I learned about a lot of new projects, and I mean I just learned a lot about just NFTs and crypto space just from doing that because you interact with so many different people. And we have done some partnerships, though being a smaller project for the most of the lifespan of Mecha Chaotic, it's been a little difficult to get the word out that we're doing this, and the bigger projects don't check their DMs, so I just show up and then they're like, whoa, what's happening here? Oh, can you do a derivative of my thing? Yeah, totally. And then later on the people who are in power find out about it, and then they sometimes they'll contact us, usually they'll retweet about it. But it's a lot of fun. I always describe it as like, imagine if you came home and like strangers were in your house, but like they plan this party and it's like a party that you think is like really cool and it's like honoring you and like it's all about how cool you are and like all of your achievements.
Right. So you don't go in and cause a bunch of chaos and have a bunch of people crap posting and putting a dozen memes and GIFs in the general channel. You guys go there and you create something that is centered around them.
Exactly. And I mean, if anybody from Mecha Chaotic ever did that, I would, in a split second, I would boot them out of Mecha Chaotic instantly. No problems with that.
You have been warned.
If you're interested in Bedlam, Mecha Chaotic Bedlam, there's a bunch of ways to get yourself a spot on there. The most surefire way to get into Bedlam is by owning a Phase 1 piece. Not only do you get on the whitelist, but you also get a free mint. And not only do you get a free mint per Phase 1 piece that you have, but also those Phase 1 mints get you more symbols of power per mint. So you're going to mint fragment tokens, one per phase 1 token for free, and they will have between 7 and 10 symbols of power on them based on the rarity of the token that it's coming from. So if you have we have edition sizes as big as 110 out of 110. If you mint from that, you'll get 7 symbols of power on that fragment token. But if you have a 1 of 1, you'll mint 10 symbols of power off of that fragment, or you'll mint a fragment token with 10 symbols of power on them. So you'll have a lot more flexibility when you go to make your summoning circle.
Okay. And then backpedaling just a bit, what are some examples of servers that you have rated? What communities have you done that for?
So we've rated like most of the big ones. So like Bored Apes, Cool Cats, Deadfellas. Way back when, like the very first server that I rated was the Sevens, back at like their peak, and they actually ended up putting the piece that I did into their special edition collection, which was pretty cool. We've rated Sneaky Vampire Syndicate. I'm kind of blanking on more, but I mean we've done probably like mid-20s number of servers that we've been to, and the list just kind of goes on and on and on. So
Cool.
And I'm always looking for more places to go.
That's neat. I like it. So I have a couple of questions from the crowd that they were asking me on the side. One of them is, can you point them to a location where they can find one of these videos if you're doing a live stream and implementing that the user choice into the art?
So we don't have any recorded live streams exactly, but we do have time lapses. The announcement that we just made in the second tweet in that chain has a time lapse of we were partnered with this project. This project Kitty Butts reached out to us. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but they reached out to us, and it's a project where, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a cat, and it's got its butt facing you. You can see its butthole. And when they first contacted us, I was like, do they know like what I do? Like, do they know what they're in for? And that live stream was just so much fun. We had like the whole time we were just laughing so hard. And if you go and check out that time lapse, you'll see why. Butt teeth is like kind of a meme on our server now. Yeah, so that's the closest that we have publicly of that process, because we really want to emphasize like being there as being important, and there's kind of a benefit to that like ephemeral nature of a live stream.
Okay. And so say we have a phase 1 piece. How do we ensure that we get on this whitelist for the new project? Do we come in the Discord and
So
let you know, or how's that work?
So what you do is you come into the server, and you register with our bot that actually controls our stream and like assigns you points and all that stuff, and it'll give you a role. So it'll say that you own a piece, because it'll detect, because it's linked to your wallet, because if you own a piece, you get more points for us during the live stream while you're watching me, to benefit our holders. And so once you have that role, then at a certain point we will have a bot enabled on our Discord, and it will collect your wallets to put on the whitelist. So and that bot will, our main goal with this is to like have the highest security possible. So we developed a bot that makes a new room, a private room with just you, the bot, and only like the admins can see. And then you'll enter your information for the whitelist, your wallet, how many pieces you want, and then that channel will get deleted, and you'll be added to a directory that we're going to pull from for our contracts later.
Cool. All right. One user question that I received, it's kind of a joke, I think, but maybe they were serious. It was a critique for you. They said that they think that degen should be a symbol of power. How do you feel about that?
You know, if you had told me that about 2 months ago, I would have been like, yeah, let's add a sixth symbol of power, degen for sure. Um, but unfortunately, just not enough time to put that together. Though maybe if I just like maybe maybe degen is just the traits, but done like with my left hand.
I like it. Um, so, as uh, as a member of Neo Tokyo, I wonder, whenever we eventually get profile pictures, um,
Hmm.
would you want to do a derivative for us?
I mean, I'm always down to do well. I'm always down to do derivatives. It's just a matter of time, right? But we do want that to kind of be a central part of our community is like doing derivatives, like having the opportunity of having me do a derivative for you. And so we haven't exactly worked out how that process might go about because obviously once Bedlam comes out, we're going to have so many holders that there's going to be much more demand than there is supply because I'm only one person. Um, but I would love to
Awesome.
once we get that figured out.
Okay. And so, Moose, if you have any other questions, shoot me a chat. I only have one more, and then generally I like to turn it over to anybody listening to come up and ask questions if they have them. So if you have time for that, do you?
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, I cleared my schedule for you guys.
Okay, okay. So if you are listening right now and you have a question, go ahead and request speaker. And then once we get past this next section, I'll start letting you guys up one at a time. So last thing that I wanted to ask you about was your lore. Where
Hmm.
do the abominations come from in your metaverse?
So yeah, I did neglect touching on the lore. Each phase one piece comes with a piece of lore that's hidden within it. But also we have lore that we just put out on our server until we get our finished website, our final website. That's going to take a little while to get going. Um, but yeah, our concept is basically that um, our world has opened up to these other dimensions, other multiverses, and these creatures are kind of pouring through. But they kind of need to be tethered to something in order to stay for longer than when the rift is open. And so when you mint the contract, you're basically forming a connection with that beast, with that creature, and we call them meta beings. So these meta beings, um, and that's kind of how you are holding them, and it will then tie into the lore of our game and also what's going on with Bedlam. And there was a whole story that started out, I think like a month and a half ago, and it actually started like the beginning of September. So what's that, 3 months ago almost? Um, and just ended on Monday, and it explained a little bit of how Bedlam came to be. It gave some hints as to what Bedlam is going to be about.
Well, that sounds neat. Um, Making a bond is going to make it certainly harder for the mentor to sell that piece, knowing that their
Right,
souls are forged together.
right. Difficult. Do you sell a piece of your soul to get rid of a piece of Mecha Chaotic to flip it? I don't know.
Man, are the gains worth your soul? Um, okay,
That's a good line.
thank you. So that was my last question. Nobody has requested speaker yet, but there always is one at least coming in just a little late. So if
Sure.
you have
So
anything to
so
say, shoot for it.
yeah, I just wanted to publicly say that like I really appreciate the citizens getting together and setting this up, and to show our appreciation, Mecha Chaotic is going to be providing you guys with 50 whitelist spots, um, and Moose will be posting the way to get that over on the Neo Tokyo server, and I'll let him handle all that since I don't know anything that's going on inside of that server.
It is a mystery. A veil
Yep.
of mystery enshrouds us. Um,
That's what
okay.
makes it fun.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
in the running
Well, I
for one of
appreciate you
those.
guys.
Um, I have enjoyed this. I've learned a lot. Oh, Moose had one more question. I'll throw that in there. He wanted to know if the phase ones are going to continue to have value after Bedlam.
Yes, of course. They're basically are. Um, I've always thought of them as kind of a key to everything else, because we want to give back to the people who invested in Mecha Chaotic early, and who believed in us from the very beginning. And those are the people that collected our phase one pieces. So we're going to constantly be trying to provide more and more value, um, to our phase one, and everything is going to basically be branching out from phase one. So like that's really important to us, and especially to me specifically, because I like phase one. Everyone who invested into phase one, like they changed my life, and I want to give back as much as I possibly can, which is why I reinvested so much of what came out of phase one back into phase two.
And I'll tell you, my bullshit detector is something I have a lot of pride in, and it's not going off at all right now. I feel like everything you're saying is very genuine. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like I before NFTs, I was living on a starving artist lifestyle, and I was not really wanting for anything. So like when NFTs hit me, it was just like, all right, I guess we're just gonna make cool stuff, right? Everyone wants cool stuff. Let's make some cool stuff together. That's what I'm all
there
about.
you go. I like it. I think a lot of us have a similar story, finding the new age gold rush in the crypto world. Um, so that's all that I have. A note for any listeners: if you are a citizen, go ahead and send Moose a message to get the first bit of those whitelist spots. You'll be the first entries. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Mecha Chaotic, for coming and answering questions. Thank you for whitelist spots. Those are always good. Um, I've enjoyed my time here. Hope everybody has a good night.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.